played Atari today.
Greetings, it's Adam with Iratanangagrata, and happy 36th birthday to the Nintendo Game Boy. I'm going to just go over some Game Boy memories that I have using the Nintendo Online here, because when it comes to Nintendo systems, obviously I'm not as big of a, say, Nintendo fan as I am an Atari fan, but I still am a Nintendo fan. When I was growing up in the 80s, I didn't actually have an NES at home. I wanted one pretty bad, but just wasn't in the cards. I did have an Atari 2600 well after I had something like the TI-99 4A. But my best friend growing up, he had all sorts of systems. They had a few different Ataris, they had the NES, and he got the SNES, and that's where I remember playing Star Fox, and they had a Sega Master System and a Sega Genesis, and all this cool stuff, and I spent a lot of time there. And I'd say also growing up when I was a kid that that's redundant. But when I was growing up, it seemed like almost everybody on my street and neighborhood had an NES. There were a couple of exceptions that was like me that didn't have one. And of course, when you go to school, that was usually what was being talked about. But we did get our Game Boy thanks to my father going in the National Guard to serve in Desert Storm. And so there was a lot of soldiers that got handhelds like the Game Boy, of course, or I remember hearing that Atari developed the Sun Shield for the Lynx so that it could shield the screen from the intense sun over there in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, all that. But that's when he came back from deployment. That's where we had a Game Boy at home. Now, and that was actually the only Nintendo system that I would have access to growing up. Now, it was around that time that I first learned about the Atari Lynx, thanks to some comic books that I got for Christmas one year, and in most of the ads for them, they had an Atari Lynx there. But I got a fairly decent collection of Game Boy games growing up. Now I don't know what happened to that Game Boy or the game collection at my mom's house, somewhere around there, but or I think some of them probably got donated to like a thrift store. But there are some games on this list that I actually had. Obviously, Tetris would be one that everybody would have, thanks to it being the packing game and that helping sell a lot of units. I think I played Super Mario Land at a friend's house, but who also had a Game Boy. It was a different friend from the one that I mentioned earlier. But Metroid II I got for my birthday one year, and I actually wrote to GamePro when I got stuck looking for the Varia suit. Now, by the time they actually published an answer to my letter, I found out I just found it by exploring through the game, but it was still cool. That was the first time I got published, I guess. I do remember also that same friend who I believe had the Super Mario Land, he had Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which I would have liked to have had, but just didn't get a chance to play it. I remember saving up money and buying Kirby's Dream Land and being incredibly disappointed with it because, well, it just was a super, super short game. I mean, I had fun with it, but still, for saving up your hard-earned money and then it being so short that I beat it the same evening that I got the game when it came back from Toys R Us, that kind of sucked. Now, I never got a Game Boy Color. By the time they came out with that, I was actually well into the Lynx and the Jaguar and all that, and I wasn't paying as much attention to what Nintendo was doing. But let's see, I don't think I had any of these games. I didn't get into Pokemon by the time I was older. I just didn't care for that. Did have Dr. Mario there. I did have a Mega Man. I just can't remember which one it was. It was either the first one or the second one. I want to say it was the first Mega Man. And I do remember being a little bit frustrated by that one. And that's it out of these games here. So let me play. Let's go into Metroid, and I'll play that while I talk about additional games that I remember having. There was one where you play as like a tomato guy called, I think it was called Quirk, and that one was a very frustrating game, but oddly enough, I lost that one. Don't know what happened to it. I remember looking for it over and over again. Even though it was a little bit of a frustrating game, it's still like when you have a game, you don't like having your games disappear. Dang it. Take that. But, yeah, so there was that game. A few others that I had. There was Batman, which was... I don't remember being too frustrated with that one. I mean, it was tough. Most Batman games were fairly tough back in the day, but that one was fun. I remember getting some weird guns in that one. There was Spider-Man as well, which I had some fun with, especially web-slinging around New York City. Some of the more frustrating games that I remember having, I had a couple of Simpsons games, and oh my gosh, those were super, super frustrating. In fact, there was one of them, again, I don't remember the exact name on it, but oh gosh, it was so frustrating that I remember once dying after a particular part of it. It was one where Bart goes camping and you have to like escape the camp or something like that. And I smacked my head on the on the Game Boy screen out of frustration. I didn't think that I smacked it that hard, but it was hard enough that when I looked up, the screen was completely cracked. And so that's... let's see if I froze this guy first. One thing I love about Metroid II is just the music of this is really fantastic. It's really good to set the mood as to everything. This was the first game I remember where it created this tense feeling as you progressed. And as a child, it was very effective, but still, it doesn't scare me now, but it's still really fantastic masterpiece, let's say. Did I do anything? No. It's like doing this. Interestingly enough, I'm noticing some called dithering or blurring. It keeps popping up. Which wasn't on the original Game Boy. This must be the emulator here. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, I remember this. But let's see, what other games did I have? The Simpsons ones that I don't think I played the Simpsons game after. That we were able to get the Game Boy fixed. Nintendo customer service was pretty good about that, but obviously I was grounded from the for a little while. Gosh, what else did we have? We had Wizards and Warriors, which was another frustrating game just because, you know, by the time you get to the later levels, there's always this jump that I could never make. It's really, really frustrating. There we go. Oh, there's the Varia. So, yeah, as a kid, I couldn't figure this out for the longest time, but like I said, I sent the letter in, and then like maybe a week or two later, I came across this, and was satisfied.
I forgot that it changes the look of the ball here. If there's anything else that I had for the Game Boy, it seems like I did. Just, it's been such a long time that I can't much else from it. But did you have a Nintendo Game Boy? Do you have any memories from that? What were your favorite games? Were there any games that you hated, like the Simpsons games, Wizards and Warriors? I also think I remember being kind of frustrated by Mega Man just because it was a pretty tough game. But, you know, it was tough on the NES as well. So I guess I should have done a little more prep before this to recall which sorts of games that I had for the system. And, like I said, I did have, or I did play Zelda, which I did enjoy Link's Awakening, and I have the HD remaster on Switch here. But, let's see. I was just trying to remember. I'd say Metroid 2 is probably the game that I spent the most time on the Game Boy. And I do wish that Atari would have had an answer of a sort to Metroid. And, most people will say Draconis on the Atari 8-bits, although that wasn't an Atari made game. It was some third party. And I've played that, and it's okay, but I don't know, it just doesn't have the same feel as Metroid does, and just wasn't compelling to me as much as Metroid. Although, if there was a Draconis on the Atari Lynx, I wouldn't have said no to it. I would have played it. I mean, I guess that's where, on the Lynx, one of the games that I do enjoy, and that I played a lot of, was Todd's Adventures in Slime World, which did have plenty similarities to Metroid. Obviously, it wasn't an exact clone, but you know, if anybody picked up Todd's Adventure in Slime World, they would say, "Oh yeah, that's like a Metroidvania game," even though it was made before you would say something was Metroidvania. Shakalaka. That's a dead alpha Metro. So are those alphas? Yeah, I think so. Down to 31. Now, see, as a kid, I also remember this taking a lot longer to play through as I explored stuff. Sweet. I do need more energy tanks, though. Yeah, I can't remember anything else from my game playing days, since I just didn't have most of the big names for it, as was mentioned there. With, you know, Pokemon is the one that most people had. Like I said, just when I remember hearing about Pokemon, I just did not care. I was already like 16, 17 or something around there, and I thought it was too childish. And so I just did not give it a chance. I didn't really play any. I don't remember playing any RPGs on it. Other than, I wouldn't call Zelda an RPG. I'd call it an adventure game. And I love the Zelda series. I remember having like Zelda 2 Pajama. Didn't have an NES, but probably. I can't remember growing up what I might have had more affinity for, probably after Metroid 2, Metroid. Even though I didn't play the first Metroid very much. Like, I had a friend or two that had it on the NES, but I just don't remember us playing that much compared to some other games. For some reason, everybody had Top Gun in my neighborhood on the NES, and everybody hated that game because of how difficult it was. But, yeah, I will call this one good. I should probably grade a restore point just in case. Grade suspend point. Yes. But yeah, what's your favorite Game Boy game? Is there a Game Boy game that you would love to see on the Atari Lynx? Again, I already said Metroid II. Or a Metroid style game on there, aside from Todd's Adventures in Slime World. And of course, something like The Legend of Zelda would be great on there too. It's like if somebody does Adventure 2 for the Lynx or Adventure 3, I think that'd be really cool. As well, just there's reasons those games have been popular amongst gamers out there, and as a sort of Nintendo fan, or a semi-Nintendo fan, I would have liked to have seen those games on my Atari systems. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Gamma Metroid of this particular play, so had to include it.